Welcome to the ArmaniTalks YouTube channel. I'm your host, ArmaniTalks. In this channel, we are breaking down communication skills, and in this episode, we're breaking down introspection for dummies. Introspecting, when we do it correctly, will lead to more confidence, clarity, and will allow us to become a better communicator. When we introspect the wrong way, we just end up conditioning anxiety into our lives. Why? It's because we're making this error in equating introspection with just thinking or closing your eyes, thinking a lot, and rather than moving with direction, we're moving in circles. And when we're moving in circles, it leads to a lot of negative thoughts. Why does this happen exactly? It's because the mind is not something that we can see. It's not something that we can hold, something that we can touch. Therefore, a lot of the times when the mind is involved in anything, we just sometimes get lazy and we say mind, thinking, same thing. We do not want to do this because even though our intent for introspection is right, we want to grow and everything, our strategy is wrong. We need to work with some analogies because with analogies, we can learn to better control the mind and guide the mind. In this episode, I'm going to be making a analogy between the smartphone and the whole process of introspection. I'm going to do this by sharing a story about a boy named Lewis. By understanding Lewis's story, you're going to understand how to clarify the introspection process in 3 easy steps, which I'm going to be breaking down. And finally, we're going to do a live simulation of an introspection session with these 3 steps. So this is going to be a fun little episode. So without further ado, let's get started off with the story of Lewis. At age 24, Lewis seemed as though he was having a perfect life. Great job, just moved into a nice new apartment, and great relationships. Only problem? He was struggling with alcoholism. He would wake up in the morning, take shots. Anytime he would hang out with people, right before, would chug a beer, and even before going to bed, would take shots. He didn't think others would know about his alcoholism, so he kept this private. But one day, he goes to Pizza Hut, he's eating a pizza, and randomly, one of his tooth just fell out. No blood or anything. This terrified Lewis. He's only 24 years old. He's a healthy guy. Why the hell did this tooth decay just happen out of the blue moon? It has to be the alcohol, he thought. He got so scared during Pizza Hut, he stopped eating his pizza, went to Walmart, picked up this big calendar and a Sharpie, and he said he was going to begin his journey to overcoming alcoholism. The next few days, every single day he didn't drink, he would mark a nice big X on the calendar. He was able to do this for 5 whole days before the addictions started to creep back up. It started to get louder and louder, and just like that, Lewis started to make a lot of excuses. I left my Sharpie downstairs. Guess I could have a shot or 2 today. No one will know. Well, I'm traveling, so I guess I could drink. Oh, well, I have to take the cap off of the Sharpie. And he's making all these ridiculous excuses. And just like that, he's back to his alcoholism. A couple of months goes on by, and Lewis has to go back to his house back home for Thanksgiving weekend. And when he goes back home, his older sister can immediately notice something about Lewis is off. She knows. She knows that Lewis is struggling with alcoholism. How does she know? Because a couple of months back, she was going through the same thing. She pulls Lewis into her room. She says, Lewis, I know you're struggling with alcoholism. Let me guess, you tried the whole calendar and Sharpie trick, didn't you? Lewis was shocked that she knew, but he nodded his head. Look, Lewis, here's what I want you to do. I want you to download this app that manages your alcoholism. It tracks each day that you have gone without drinking. So you don't have to do anything. Nothing with the Sharpie, nothing with taking the caps off, nothing. Okay? You just turn it on whenever you're ready, and it's going to start measuring each day. Wake up in the morning, just look at the app to set the right tone. That's all you have to do. And if you do decide to quit, it's going to be you that has to physically click that reset button. Does it sound good to you, Lewis? Does that sound easy? Lewis nods his head. And for the next few days, with this app, his journey begins again. Day 1, success. Day 2, success. Day 3, 4, 5. The addictions are creeping up. But every single morning, just by looking at that app, seeing the days piling on up, you feel stronger. 5 days turn into 20 days. 20 days turn into 45 days. 45 days turn into 180 days. And 180 days turn into 1,647 days. Lewis is a changed man. And as a changed man, what Lewis starts to realize within himself is that this smartphone that he has changed the entire trajectory of his life. And by making this realization, he says that he's going to understand how to use this smartphone on a much deeper level. No longer is he going to just use memes, surf random shit, watch porn, all this negative stuff. He's going to use it with intent. The smartphone is now a tool. Likewise, with us, our mind and our bodies are just like the smartphone was for Lewis. It's a tool, yet we're mismanaging it. Just think about it. The screen, all the content in the screen represents our mind, and the actual phone in itself represents our body. We need to understand that just like the smartphone can be a tool like it was for Lewis, our mind and body can be a tool that it is for us. And that's introspection in a nutshell, when we turn our mind and body into a tool. So by understanding Lewis's story, we see some parallels between the smartphone and our mind and body, which allows us to now understand these next 3 steps, which I'm going to share with you. I'm going to list them out first, and then we're going to go through each one. The first one is that we want to objectify our mind and body. 2, we want to cultivate a positive and negative accepting attitude. And 3, we want to move with direction. So let's go through each 3. The first thing we want to do when it comes down to introspecting is we want to objectify the mind and the body. Lewis doesn't pick up his smartphone and say, I am the smartphone. Does he? Of course not. And why doesn't he? Because he is Lewis and the smartphone is an object. Lewis is the subject and the smartphone is the object. Exactly. Likewise with us, in order to reach peak introspection skills, we have to objectify our mind and body, and we need to introspect as awareness. If you are someone that meditates and journals, then you probably have a high level of awareness, so you know that you're not your thoughts, your feelings, and all of that. But let's say you have never done meditation, you have never done journaling, any sort of mental activity like that. Just saying that you gotta treat your mind and body like objects seems foreign to you. So I want you to do this little trick. Instead of saying, I am the mind and the body, say, I have a mind and the body. What this does is it automatically creates a little gap between your mind and body, aka your humanized smartphone, and you, the pure awareness. When you introspect as awareness, there's not ego involvement. You don't start making excuses for yourself. You have a more humble attitude as you are introspecting, which leads to clearer insights. That's number 1. We are objectifying the mind and the body. 2, we want to cultivate an accepting attitude. Negative thinking. What's better than negative thinking? Positive thinking. What's better than positive thinking? Acceptance. Negative or positive, it doesn't bug you whatsoever. You're good with either. With Lewis, he knows sometimes his phone is going to be on, sometimes it's going to be off, sometimes it's going to be working fast, sometimes it's going to be working slow. He doesn't personalize it. He just understands that at times stuff like this happens with the phone. Likewise, when we're introspecting, we don't want to say, oh, well, I just need to have positive thoughts when I'm introspecting, and I need to vilify negative thoughts. That's not how we want to do it. Rather, we want to cultivate and accepting attitude. We want to be okay with either. So rather than saying positive versus negative, say positive and negative. Accept both. Just like with a coin, there's heads and tails, right? That's just the nature of the coin. Likewise, with our mind and the body, ups and downs are just the nature. So that's number 2 in terms of introspecting. 3 is that we want to move with intent. If I just gave Lewis this smartphone, I'm like, well, have fun, he would just be doing the same stuff he always does. He wouldn't have been able to progress his life to the level that he did. But when he decided that he wanted to overcome alcoholism, and there was an app for that, he was able to use that smartphone with direction. Likewise, with introspecting, don't just introspect for the sake of doing it. Try to have some sort of purpose. That purpose could be small, or that purpose could be large. It could be your life purpose, or it could be something as simple as waking up an hour earlier and asking yourself, why are you struggling with this? How come you're not able to wake up earlier? Okay, so those are the 3 levels of introspection. 1 is that we want to objectify our mind and body. 2 is that we want to cultivate an accepting attitude. And 3 is we don't just want to introspect for the sake of introspecting. We want to move with direction. So let's do a live simulation on why we can't wake up earlier. We've been trying, but it's not working. So step 1, I am not the mind and the body. I have a mind and the body. Boom, I detached myself, and now there's no ego involvement. I'm able to be more objective. 2, okay, as I'm being objective, there's going to be positive insights that come. There's going to be negative insights that come. I'm good with either. 2 has been done. 3, what is the direction? Why can't I wake up an hour earlier? I'm trying, but I can't. So let's do some introspecting regarding that. All 3 steps. Begin. Okay, well, how late do you go to sleep? Oh, you go to sleep pretty late. What about before bed? Do you have any nighttime routine? No, you're watching a lot of TV. TV has a lot of blue light. You gotta avoid blue light. What about when you wake up? How nice is your alarm clock? Wait, tell me, you don't even have an alarm clock. Get an alarm clock. Don't just go by your body's natural rhythms. That can maybe develop later, but now invest in a nice alarm clock. You see? That's an introspection session right there. This is something that just moved us forward. There were a few insights that we got, and these few insights allowed us to progress forward. We're not just thinking aimlessly. We're no longer just conditioning anxiety within us. We're moving with intent. Introspection is a muscle. The more that you practice, the better that you get. So practice with these 3 easy steps. Objectify the mind and the body, cultivate an accepting attitude, and move with direction. The better that you introspect, the more that you develop and cultivate the reps, the more mentally tough that you get, the clearer that you speak, the clearer that you think, the more calm that you are during moments that would before rattle you. That's the power of introspection. It's one of the most powerful internal technologies out there. Yet, a lot of us, we're sleeping on this. No more. Learn to introspect. Enjoy the process. Make it a muscle. Make it a routine. And allow yourself to propel forward like the bow from the arrow. Okay, if you enjoy practical insights like this, detailed breakdowns regarding mindset, communication skills, and the ability to express yourself, I drop insights like this daily on my free daily newsletter, which goes out every single day at 7 p.m. You don't want to miss out on these tips. To join, check out the link in the description box right on below. And I appreciate you for joining Introspection for Dummies. I'll catch you on the next episode.